It's too bad that we don't need someone with your handicap. Do your best to stay alive. What is this on the desk? That's what the letter that was sent to me said. I was born with problems in both legs, but my sister doesn't have any problems. I must have been a bother back then. Someone called me on my phone, and it was my dad. Hi, Odessa. Did you read that letter? That's what it means. I tried to read it. Goodbye. Wait a second. Is there something else? Is there something else? What does this letter mean? What it says is exactly what it means. We're sick of taking care of a kid like you. Don't be afraid of us. That was the end of the call. Right away, I thought about what to say, and then called my mom. Hi, Mom. What you did makes me think you've read the message. So someone like me, who has a disability, is a bother? It feels like I'm a monster. Yes, but you don't have to worry about anything because you are. That awful thing was said 8 years ago, and then my dad showed up at the high-rise apartment where I live. How can someone with a disability like you live in a place like this? Well, I can tell you, I suppose. When I told my dad that secret, he was very upset and had a hard time coping. My name is Odessa. This year, I'll be 26 years old. I live in an apartment on the 55th floor of a high-rise building and have a good life. However, reaching this way of life came with a lot of problems. One reason is that I was born with a disease that makes my muscles weak. I can still remember the words my dad said. I believe it was kindergarten. Why did a weak person like you have to be born? Isn't it your fault? Emmy is in good health and doesn't have any problems. It's 2 years since I last saw my sister, Emmy. I was listening to my parents talk in the living room at that time. In case of an emergency, my room was right next to the living room. Even when I was a little kid, I could feel that someone was unhappy with me. There's no need to say such things. Then, from now on, you take care of Odessa. What do you mean? Are you aware that you are a father at all? Please, I'm leaving the rest to you. I put the feud over myself in silence. On that day, they became much colder and meaner toward me. Afterwards, even when I talked to them, they didn't answer my questions in the right way. In fact, my birth defects may be to blame. Since then, my mom has always been kind to make sure I don't worry. Even though things are hard, I do what I can on my own, and I'm not negative about having been born with this disease. The person who has the most impact on how I see things is my sister. I slept too much last night. I stayed up late. I'm sorry about that. No trouble. Most of the time, I was able to get dressed on my own. I'll help you. Thanks, but first you need to get ready, sis. My sister, Amy, has been helping me get ready for school every morning since we were kids. But my dad didn't like this, and often complained about it. How long do you intend to keep doing this? It's almost over. Odessa must be able to do it on her own. Come here, you can do it, right? Yes. Emmy came over to help me while I was changing, and our dad didn't even notice. Sorry about earlier. It's okay. During this, I can't always count on you. Amy gave me a soft hug. What's wrong all of a sudden? Don't worry, Odessa. I will keep you safe. Then I'll do my best to protect you too, sis. I felt like these kinds of conversations made our bond as sisters stronger. If our dad saw us being close, we tried not to talk too much in front of him. We were afraid he would say something. Then I'm off. Okay, take care. Father would sometimes skip days off and work a few times a month. I felt better during those days when I was playing games. I was often scolded really hard. Today, since Dad isn't here, Let's play games to our heart's content. Okay, yes, but let's not overdo it. Don't worry. My sister and I liked playing computer games in the living room. After that, it's been about 2 hours. Our mom had gone shopping at that time. When I heard the front door open, I thought Mom was back. "What are you doing?" It was my dad's voice. When I turned around, "Dad, why are you here? Where did the work go?" "I came back since I forgot something." "Where is Mom?" "She went shopping." "In that case, what are you two doing? Tell me." When my dad looked at me, I stopped moving out of fear. It felt like my body had turned to stone. My sister tried to keep me safe when she saw this. The idea came from me, even though we were just playing a game. "Odessa hasn't done something wrong. Is that true?" "It's true." After that, my dad pulled my sister's arm hard. When I saw this, I thought he might hurt her somehow. I felt like I had to protect my sister at that moment. I wanted to do it, and I asked Amy to join me. "So please, don't hurt her." "Oh, I see. So you called this off after all. Go back to your room." "Understood." I went back to my room as told. One small comfort was that our house was made so that people in wheelchairs could get around easily. From far away, I could hear my dad yelling. At that time, I felt very helpless and bad about myself. My room door opened. I tensed up because I thought it was my dad, but it was my mom. "Is everything okay?" "I'm fine. But how is Sis?" "Yes, she's all right too." I tried to go to the living room because something about my mom's answer didn't feel right. "Where are you going?" "I have to save my sister." "Don't be afraid. You might upset your dad again if you go there." "I get it. I'm going to stay here." My mom was right. It's possible that going would have made things worse. I chose to believe what my mother said. "I'm sorry. I wish I were stronger." Because my dad was so bossy, my mom always tried to avoid making him mad. "It's okay. Thank you for being there." My sister came into the room after a while. "Sis, Father has gone to work, so there's no more trouble." "Okay. What did he say to you?" "A little, but don't worry, Odessa. I'm fine." "It doesn't matter. My sister has always been someone who is happy." The fight wasn't just mine. My sister was also in pain. There was also talk from my mom about how to calm down my dad's anger toward me. I always had help from other people to live. It was my goal to avoid being a bother to them. My sister started to pull away from me a bit when she started middle school. She had helped with everyday things, like getting dressed and going to the bathroom. Before I knew it, she had a lot going on with her club and friends, so I tried not to worry about it. I told myself that all I had to do was keep going. It was time for me to get better. Not only were my legs much weaker at that point, but so were my hands. It was getting even harder to move big things. Still, there was no way to give up. I was cleaning up my room one day and moving things around on shelves. That was the moment. Maybe I put too much weight on the shelf. Things on top fell off when it shook. That hurts. I need to quickly get these. I tried to reach the floor from the wheelchair, but I couldn't. I was really trying when all of a sudden, the door opened. What is this noise? What's going on here? That was the worst time for it to happen, especially since I didn't want my dad to see it. I tried to answer, but I just couldn't find the right words. My dad thought I was making fun of myself. "Who do you think will clean this up?" That is, I didn't remember my dad ever helping. There were few memories of my dad helping me, and they were never spoken of. He sighed in anger and asked, "Why do you always do things that aren't necessary?" The look on his face told me he didn't get it. His bugging went on and on forever. She said, "You can't do anything like Amy. Do you get that?" I didn't want to do as much by myself as she did, but I planned to do what I could. If I was going to get in trouble anyway, I chose to tell my dad how I felt, hoping that he would understand even a little. "Do you think you can do that?" "Yes." After that, he laughed out loud. "What you say is funny. Are you ready to do things? How could someone like you, who has disabilities, ever be able to do something?" I was ready to be turned down, but being totally turned down was a different story. He kept laughing, which was not proper for his daughter. I stopped thinking after that. All I did was wait for time to go by. "Hey, are you listening?" I didn't answer at all. "What's wrong with you? You're really weird." My dad left the room after he said that. When I was by myself in the room, my tears came out. I chose not to cry again after that, even when I was a child. After that, my mom mostly took care of me. It looked like my dad didn't care. He didn't help at all. "Hey, do you have a fever?" "Really? I don't know." "You should rest today." "No, I'm fine. I'm able to go to school." My mother was afraid for my safety and told me to stay home, even though I really wanted to persuade her. The main reason I wanted to go to school was because my dad had the day off. To be honest, I didn't want to be alone with him. But something strange happened. "Are you okay?" For my own safety, I claimed to be asleep when my dad walked into the room and talked to me. He did not leave the room right away, though. I put the blanket over my shoulders and watched with fear. "I'll leave this here for you." I sat up in the end. Sports drinks and jelly were ready to go on the table. I was surprised by how happy I felt. It was something I had never felt before. My thoughts were all over the place. What did he want to achieve by doing this? My dad came to my room more than once that day. I always said I was asleep when I wasn't. When my mom got home from work, she asked, "Are you feeling better?" "Yeah, I don't think I have a fever." "Did something happen?" "Kind of. Today, Dad seemed nice." "That's good then." "All right, what do you mean?" "Well, I actually asked your father to take care of you today." "Really?" "So far, it looks good. It's more like I'm just shocked since we haven't talked much. I haven't thought about it yet. I was strict with him, Odessa. I told him to be nicer to you. I had a lot of feelings. I tried not to be impacted. But I didn't know how to feel or what to do after that. My mom said my dad paid more attention. He began to spend more time taking care of me. And over time, we even started talking. It seems like your relationship with Dad is getting better. Do you think so? I hope you two can get along. I still think about the past, though. That's right. It's tough to forget everything. Actually, I also want to spend time playing with you, Odessa. That's no problem, sis. I couldn't help but smile at my sister. During that time, I hoped that my relationship with my dad would get better. But as I got older and started middle school, my dad became even more distant. My sister was taking her tests. I tried to accept it, but then I saw that there were other reasons as well. I need to use the bathroom. Even though I told my dad I could handle things on my own, I chose to ask for his help. Right now, I'm not able to help you. Hey, you're now in middle school. It seems like you should be able to go to the bathroom on your own. I thought this was how he really was. It seemed like a dream. Those good old days were gone. Another thing that changed was that my mother became just as cold as my father. "Mom, could you help me with something?" "I'm busy now." "Could be later." Even my sister wasn't reliable. Just like that, they stopped caring about me slowly over time. What I asked for was often forgotten. Even when I was in middle school, it hurt to feel like my family didn't care about me. Odessa, you eat your meals in your room from now on. Why? Just because. My mom and sister didn't say anything. Over time, I ate more and more by myself in my room. The results of a medical test I got at the hospital were one reason for the change. My health wasn't looking good, and my sickness was getting worse. After learning the truth about my situation, my dad made the choice he did. I had more and more doubts, and I started to wonder if I really fit in this family. Why is it only Odessa? Thoughts like these got through to me while I was learning. Get ready quickly, Amy said. If Odessa stays home, I'll stay home too. Amy, are you sure that's okay? Yes. You did want to go to a private school? Yes, that's true. Are you going to refuse to obey me? Stay put if you want to. Don't go to the private school anymore, though. I was shocked to hear things that were so obviously false. Finally, it became clear what was really going on. My dad was using Amy's tests as a threat to get my mom and sister to do what he wanted. Even though I had never been mean to my dad before, this was clearly too much. But because I have trouble moving around, I wasn't sure how to handle this. I couldn't stop thinking about this problem. After that day, my mom told me, I'm going to go out for a while. I'm sorry, Odessa. I'm fine. Don't worry. I could hear my dad calling from far away. He looked like he was calling me right away. Come on, hurry up. I chose to act strong because every time I looked sad, I thought they might push themselves too far because of me. When they went out, they often left me behind. I believed that if this happened often enough, I would eventually get used to it. My dad used to avoid me by going out a lot, but at some point, he started to act without thinking. Let's eat out today. Let's go. I think this sudden plan is a bit much. Well, I might have chosen this. Please move quickly. Odessa will be waiting at home. Of course, the person next to me, Amy, tried to speak, but I grabbed her arm to stop her. It's okay. Go ahead. You are so kind, Odessa. Wait, do you know what people at work say about me? Most likely you don't. My dad started to state that he was very unhappy. Being a dad to a disabled daughter makes me suffer even at work. Do you get how annoying that is? I had no idea how they could understand that these kinds of comments should not be sent to me. His health wasn't good enough for him to be a father. But what could I, a middle school student who needed help to get around and whose life depended on it, do? Don't worry. I can handle it on my own. It's all right. Amy and my mom looked at me with worry. If I go along, I'll just be in the way, and you shouldn't have to worry about how others look at you. Amy wasn't sure, but she still went on the date with our parents. I didn't know what would happen if I didn't listen to my dad. It seemed like the smart thing to do to avoid a fight. My dad's attitude didn't change even when I got to high school, but something happened that made the past seem unimportant. After saying goodbye to my family, I went back to my room and felt lost. I didn't know when I would be freed from this life. I was in the 3rd year of middle school, and it was summer break. My mom asked my grandparents, I'm sorry to bother you, but could you watch Odessa for 3 days? Isn't she coming with you? Odessa says she wants to concentrate on her studies. As she is a student preparing for exams, is that okay? Yes. Then leave her to me. I stayed at my grandparents' house. Because of that, it seemed like my dad didn't feel bad about lying, not even to his own parents. I couldn't describe how dreadful it was to see him smile and wave goodbye after he was out of sight. My grandma asked me, This is just the 2 of us. You can say what you want. Are you sure you want to not go with everyone else? Mom and Amy can't fully enjoy themselves when they're with me. That's something I want to avoid at all costs, I said. Odessa, you really have a big heart. Not really, but don't worry about what other people think. Here, you can take it easy whenever you want. Yes, thank you. My grandma may have known what was going on in my mind, but she didn't ask any more questions. I really felt at ease here. I wasn't smart or strong enough to change things when I was in middle school. Being looked at by other people was annoying, so I was thankful for my grandmother's support. After 3 days, my mom and sister came to get me. Just the two of you. Sorry, Dad has already gone home. I see. Was Odessa okay? She was great, as I told you. Make sure you take good care of her. Yes, I understand. From behind a wall, I could hear what they were saying. My mom told me on the way home, I'm fine. You don't have to push yourself. That's right. We're thinking of you, Odessa. I know, but I would hate for something to happen to you. When we got home, my dad was still being the cold person he always is. Normally, this would have been the point where I would have broken, but my mother and sister helped me stay strong. But it was clear that they were avoiding me, and I don't know if it was because I was following my dad's instructions. Being forgotten by my dad had always been a problem, but it hurt a lot to see them both start to act the same way. There were times when I felt like no one else was around, beginning to tell myself, I'm okay, I can do this. After that, when I got home, I tried to spend as much time as possible in my room. Being alone in my room kept me from having to deal with other people, which made me feel better. I later realized, though, that this choice was wrong. In my second year of high school, it was a spring Sunday. The house was very quiet when I woke up. I saw a piece of paper on the table on my way to the living room. It's too bad that we don't meet someone with your handicap. Do your best to stay alive. What is this? The letter was written to me. Then my dad called me on my cell phone. Hi, Odessa. Did you read that letter? I tried to read it. But what does it mean? It means just what it says. You are the third person with a disability that we have helped. Don't be afraid of us. That was the end of the call. Right away, I thought about what to say in response to everything. I called my mom because I was upset and confused. Hello, Mom. From your reaction, I see you've read the letter. So someone with a disability like me is just a bother? It feels like I'm a monster. Yes, but don't stress out because you're not his child, so don't worry. What do you mean? Tell me about it. Listen, call this number as soon as you can. Wait, tell me more. Sorry, he's nearby. I'll get in touch with you again later. I was shocked. Did that mean I wasn't my dad's actual child? If what my mom said was true, even though I had a lot of questions, I couldn't find any solutions right away. Someone answered the phone number my mom gave me and said his name was Rogers and that he was a lawyer. I'm calling as instructed by my mother. Okay, let's talk about this in more depth. I did as I was told and went to his law office, which is where I finally found out the truth. The lawyer told me what my mother meant by her vague words and the real story of how I was born. My mother and sister seemed to have kept it a secret because they were worried about me. The shock was too much to handle. I started living on my own after that, with Mr. Rogers' help. Without the stress of my past, I was able to get used to my new life. It's been 8 years since that life-changing event. At this point, there had been a number of important events to celebrate. Emmy had finished college and was living on her own. After that, though, she called me. Odessa, is something wrong? Sorry to spring this on you, but it seems like Dad has found out where you live. Really? How? Just to be safe. Know that Mom and I haven't told him anything. Yeah, I understand. In fact, Mom and I have been in touch with you since you moved out. Of course, without Dad knowing. Does that mean he's coming here? Probably. Okay. Do you think it's time for me to finally pay him back a little? Odessa, I know you want to, but you and Mom made my life possible. I want to thank everyone, but especially my mom, who went through a lot. Amy didn't say anything for a moment. She finally told her, Sis, it's not your fault. My dad showed up at my place a week after we talked, just like Amy said he would. When the buzzer went off, I answered it. Yes, hello. Odessa, it's been a long time. How can someone with disabilities like you live in a high-rise condo like this? He asked. Well, what do you think? I answered back, and my voice was a mix of anger and confidence. That's not the way you should talk to your parents, he said. I could see my mother standing behind my dad and looking sorry. Even when I wasn't there, her face showed how much she had been through. Her face showed that she was in a lot of pain. At first, I planned to gently tell my dad what was going on, but seeing him now made me more determined. Let me tell you how I've been managing to live this life without you, I said. My dad's face got darker as I told him more about how I had been living with the help of my mom and Mr. Rogers. His anger then turned toward my mother. What do you mean? He yelled. I had no idea about any of this. Your whole mood changed when you found out I had disabilities, didn't it? So what? She's not your child, and a disabled person at that? He yelled. As I thought about what Mr. Rogers had said, my heart beat fast. I wasn't actually my dad's child. My mom's best friend had a kid like me. My biological father had died in an accident, and my birth mother, who was dying, gave me to my foster parents right before she died. Also, my real mother left me a large inheritance to make sure I wouldn't have to go through hard times in the future. The house I lived in now used to belong to my real parents. Isn't it inappropriate to blame Mom for this? I asked in a sharp voice. My dad yelled, Shut up. No, I'm not going to be quiet. I can see how badly you treat Mom. Your violent behavior didn't stop when I moved out on my own. You used to go after me, but now it's her, I said. I asked my mom to confirm, and she gave me a quiet nod. What are you going to say? My dad yelled. You don't have any proof. What if there is proof? I answered with a firm tone in my voice. I took out my phone and played the tape. The recording showed the ugly truth. My dad was verbally abusing my mom and then getting violent. How about that? Do you get it now? I said clearly. My dad asked, with a shaking voice, When was this? What do you mean? I glanced at my mom and made a face. My dad looked confused. I'm separating from you, I said. What? He couldn't believe it. Don't worry, Mom will be living here with me. I'm not going to let you do that, he yelled, trying to get back in charge. I told them calmly, Your opinion doesn't matter anymore. He didn't know that we had planned for this to happen. It was clear that he was desperate. What can someone with disabilities like you do? He scoffed. Again, but this time his voice was shaky from worry. A voice cut him off just as he was about to lose it and start fighting. Stop it. What are you being silly for? Who are you? My dad barked, turning to look at the new voice. This person is my spouse. Spouse? It's nice to meet you, my husband said, stepping in between us. My dad put his hand down in surprise. He asked my mom, You knew about this too? Of course, she said. Emmy knows about it too, he yelled. And you did this without my permission? I told them, I'm an adult. There shouldn't be any problem. For a moment, my dad was quiet and looked angry. He then tried one more trick. Hey, wait a minute. You must have inherited more than just this house, right? I should get a piece of that fortune because I'm your parent. On what basis do you say that? I pushed back. There is no such thing as a right, Edward said. I couldn't help but laugh when I saw how upset my dad looked. Why are you laughing so much? Because you're talking about things that don't matter, I replied, still laughing. My dad was so mad that he stomped his feet in anger. You've really planned this all out, haven't you? He spoke with a lower voice and a feel of failure. Yes, you should do your best because the road ahead will be hard. You will also have to pay alimony. Also, Grandpa and Grandma already know what's going on, so there's no point in relying on them. When he said those words, my dad's posture changed totally. He stopped talking and clearly thought about the truth he was facing. I was ready to close this part by saying, there's nothing else to talk about, so goodbye. Wait, pay attention. I'm truly sorry, he said. When he said sorry, my dad dropped into a dramatic pose. I gave him a cold look. What does it feel like to abandon all pride towards someone you've looked down upon for years? I asked out loud. I still didn't believe him after he said sorry. There is no reason to do this. Please go. Are you still not going to forgive me? No. I'll call the police if you don't leave. I have all the proof. You might get caught. That finally made him mad. My dad quickly left with a scared look on his face, leaving us alone. After taking a big breath, I felt calm and at ease. Edward squeezed my hand and said, "Well done." "Thanks. It was really stressful," I said. "Odessa, are you okay with me about living here together?" "That's fine. That's something we all agreed on. We can be free here." After a few days, my sister called. "Actually, I wanted to come with you," she stated. "I know how you feel." "Please come see me again next time," I said happily. In the end, my mom and I were no longer under my dad's control. Even though the problem wasn't completely fixed, we had a party that night. Soon after, we went to see Mr. Rogers, the lawyer, to finish up the court case. It went smoothly because we had enough proof. I told him, "I'm so thankful for everything. It's my duty, after all. Any threats of violence will be taken care of by the cops, and I will handle the alimony." 2 weeks after our meeting, my parents' split was finalized. This meant that my mother would never have to deal with my father's abuse again. As we moved my mom's things into the condo, I felt a huge sense of relief. My mom told me, "Odessa, you've helped me so much." "Thanks." "Mom, I'll keep doing things to show how grateful I am." "You don't have to, but I want to," I said with a small smile. That was the start of a new part of our lives together. When my sister came to visit whenever she could, I finally knew what real peace felt like. "Thanks for your help, Amy," I told her one day. "Odessa, whether you have blood ties or not, you are my only sister," she responded with a warm smile. My mom's phone rang just as I thought everything was fine. I asked, "Is something wrong?" "Yes, I just got a call from your dad," she replied. Not sure what to say. "Can I see that for a moment?" I picked up the phone and talked on the other end. "I was wrong. Will you please come back?" On the other end, my dad's voice begged. I told her firmly, "Mom won't be coming back." "Is that Odessa?" "I understand now that I was wrong," he begged. "Please give me another chance." I'm sorry, but that can't happen. Don't get in touch with us again. I hung up the phone and blocked his number right away. My mom asked, "Are you okay?" I told her, "Yes, there's nothing to worry about." After that, my dad quit his job and stopped being in our lives. We had lost track of him and didn't care where he was. We were free. Our family lived together in peace and happiness, and I felt truly free for the first time in my life. I was looking forward to many more days of peace with my family.